All right, I think that's recording. So, hey there, YouTube. This is my very first video that I've ever recorded this kind of thing. I'm nobody. I'm just your average person. God, this sucks as an intro. But anyway, my sister and I are always talking, and we were talking right now, and I was saying that I wanted to record something, and my sister and I were talking, and we're talking about such interesting topics that I said I'm just gonna hit record. This is real. I'm not gonna edit anything. So you're in on the conversation of we're just talking about the things that I think need to be talked about right now, and thinks needs to be talked about, and nobody wants to talk. I I've posted a bazillion things on Facebook. I've shared a bazillion things, and I mean fundamentally, and by the way, in case you're wondering about the recording environs, my wife and I have decided that we're going to travel around in a trailer, and we don't have any money. We have very little money, but we're going to travel in a camper. But I'm not going to make my blog about camping. She watches a lot of RV blogs. This is all going to be about what I see in society. I'm a big student of history, and I'm going to talk about the things that I see happening and the things that I know. Anytime I don't know anything, Loretta will agree to this. And she's on the phone with me, like I said, but she'll agree that if I don't know, I'll say I don't know. And the most powerful language, the most powerful words in science and in gaining any kind of knowledge are the words I don't know. Because if you can say I don't know, you can look for answers. But if you know with absolute certainty just about anything, if you know for certain there's a God, even though there are 2,700 other religions active in the world today, each with their own God, somehow yours is the only God. If you know that for certain, you're probably not going to like me. You're probably not going to like the words I have to say, because I feel that knowing the unknowable with absolute certainty is a straight path to total ignorance. So yes, I'm an atheist. If you don't like atheists, you're not going to like my channel. But this is actually, I think this is turning into a good intro video. So what were we talking about, Loretta? Yeah, I'm asking you to be the springboard. Which topic was I ranting on?
I was saying, I said everything and nothing at all. That's what my best friend and I always say that we talked about all night.
Oh yes,
Well, mostly we were talking about politics and,
yes.
you know,
Oh.
like
So
particularly.
so I was saying, and again, there is never a reason for political violence. I won't go into that further, but I need to say that up front because I'm going to talk about a lot of sensitive issues like that. But political violence has no place in a civilized society.
Right.
Political violence comes during great times of upheaval. And when you think about it, like the Revolutionary War was started with political violence. In all honesty, no matter who you feel shot first, no matter how you feel about the gentleman that John Adams defended that had opened fire in the Boston Massacre, great HBO. By the way, I'm always going to throw out great series. The one on John Adams, excellent. I don't know exactly how historically accurate it is, but close, and by Hollywood is pretty good. But I'm sorry, I digress. See, this is why it's perfect. I need to write stuff down. We were talking about uh, the
Well,
troops. The troops. Okay,
oh yeah,
here is a fact that now there have been a few times through like the Insurrection Act and through things. There have been a few times where army troops, government military troops, have actually turned on the United States. It's never worked out well, but I'm not going to go deeply into those. I'm just going to say that that is not the United States. That is functionally, that is as an imperative, it actually is not the way the United States is supposed to work. We do not turn our troops against our citizenry. And for them to justify not only the atrocity of it, but just think, if you only care about money, because a lot of people gravitate towards Trump because all they care about is money. Oh, we got to balance that budget. We got to do this. We got to do that. How much do you think it costs to send Black Hawk helicopters and have troops repelling out of them? Is it repelling? Have troops coming out of these Black Hawk helicopters, all to storm a building so you could zip tie children. You zip tie fucking children. Once you zip tie children, you're a terrorist in the United States. So Trump is actually using the United States military as his own private terrorist organization. Do you ever feel like I'm sorry, I have to walk off screen here for a moment. But do you ever feel like just what I'm saying is, every atrocity that you see that Trump partakes in, you somehow go, well, it's not me. And if you're white and you're watching what's happening to brown people all over the country, if someone has ice on their back and they see you and you're brown, they expect you to show papers to them immediately, or they're going to take you into custody because they think you're an illegal immigrant. By the way, people are not illegal. Nobody is illegal. People are people. And the Constitution and the laws, the way they are written, say that all people that are on this soil are to be treated humanely. They have certain rights. Whether you think they're in the country illegally, whether you have... Nazi Germany was a time period... I'm sorry, I walked off camera to smoke, but I didn't smoke because I'm just ranting. Give me one moment.
No human being is illegal.
I don't know.
Everyone
I don't know if that is permissible on YouTube. I guess we're going to find out. But the thing is that humans are humans and need to be treated humanely. You see what happened in Israel. Somehow the United States is still in support of Israel. The ruler of Israel, have you ever seen any of his campaigning? His campaigning, and I'm sorry, this is going to be a long rant. And I definitely, I take my medication and I like to rant. And this is going to be a long one. But the thing is, Netanyahu in Israel has already been accused, if not convicted. I think they just accused him. They didn't actually, they might have done some pro forma trial. But he is guilty of war crimes. And I'm sorry, that's not popular in the United States to say that. But the thing is, Hamas, by the way, all religions are bad. All religions are divisive, and religions preach hate. Every single one of them. If you can show me, oh wait, I take that back. There's a couple of religions that are cool, like Buddhism. Buddhism doesn't really preach anything. Zen Buddhism is pretty much, you can just play however you go. And as a matter of fact, did you know Zen Buddhism, you can be an atheist or a theist. You can have a God belief or not and still be part of Zen Buddhism. They have many of both. I haven't really researched that because I have no interest in having any organized religion. But I'll tell you, a religion like Buddhism that is all about peace, I can really respect. And once again, to paraphrase, I don't know who, and I don't want to misquote anyone, but I'm going to paraphrase this with, I really like your Christs. I just don't like your Christians. And I'll tell you why that is. The teachings of Jesus Christ are wonderful. I don't believe he was divine. I don't believe in any kind of God. Also, if you know Thomas Jefferson, the guy that actually put pen to paper, he didn't write all of the thoughts, but he was the most eloquent in his speech and all of his handwriting. So Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, and the Constitution. Most of those are his words, his wording. They liked the way his language flowed. Well, Thomas Jefferson liked the teachings of Christ, but he didn't like the divinity. He didn't like the idea that to believe in the teachings of Christ, you were expected to believe that a God that can't be proved to exist came and impregnated a human woman and then became the child that also couldn't possibly exist if science works the way we believe it does. And it's just all implausible. But Thomas Jefferson's son lived during a time where most everyone was a believer in the Bible in the United States. They always say it was a Christian nation, which it never was. The country always was against the integration of religion into society because what religion? Whose religion? You can't choose one and stick it into society without harming the rest. So the most important part of the First Amendment is the part they don't tell you. The part that's important is freedom from religion. You are free to practice nothing. You are free to never go into a church. And that is so important because in societies that have used theocracy to control the people, which is what Project 2025 is all about. We're going to bring up Project 2025 a whole bunch. This is just my first video. I decided if I didn't start recording, I would never record. So if you've made it this far, I appreciate that. I do tend to ramble. I do tend to rant, and but but the teachings of Christ, Jefferson saw them. I always, if I can snap back the topic, I do. If I can remember what topic I was on, but Jefferson saw the teachings of Christ and thought these are great moral teachings. And I, as an atheist, see the teachings of Christ, and the majority of them, the vast majority of them, are great moral teachings. We could run a whole society by those teachings. And there was a time, again, because so much of the populace was Protestant Christian, so much of the populace of the United States believed in the teachings of Christ. Well, if the majority of your populace believes in the teachings of Christ, the real teachings of Christ, everybody's pretty good to each other. Everybody tries to follow the laws. They try to be fairly moral. They try not to covet, not to steal and not to do all of those things. Um, and so that's generally a good governing body of laws, and it worked well in the United States when the vast majority believed in the teachings of Christ. However, I would say today, very, very few Christians believe in the teachings of Christ. Very, very few Christians even know the teachings of Christ because they have been misled by some pastor that wants to make dollars off Christ. Because as soon as money comes into Christ is not religion anymore. Christ is business. And everything in the United States is business. I don't know if you've noticed that. You are expected not to have hobbies just to have hobbies. If you play guitar, are you good enough to go make some money doing it? If you like to paint, can you sell your paintings? Everything in the United States is monetized, and it's because we are based on a capitalist society, a capitalist system. By the way, capitalism fucking sucks. For the majority of people, capitalism, this system will always suck for the majority. Now, you can make it suck less, like they did in the 50s. You had the policies of FDR that made the society suck less by putting in place laws that made it possible for people to live without working endlessly. To make it possible for one person to work and a person to stay home and take care of the kids and be able to have a house on an average job. Well, the corporations decided they didn't give a shit about their workers anymore. They don't give a shit about you or you or you or you or you. Whoever you are, if you don't have over $1 million in net worth, they do not give a shit about you. And if you think just because you have a job that makes 60, 70, $80,000 a year, if you think you're middle class, you're fooling yourself. Because you're living better than us poor, definitely. You don't have the worries we do. You don't have the food insecurity that we do, but you're definitely not middle class. Middle class was a dream, a goal, and it was only for some in the 50s because it was a super racist society. So, indeed, the society, again, was only working for a percentage of the population. We're looking for a society that will work for the majority. And if not, and possibly for everyone. We could have a society that works for everyone. But once again, we could build that society, believe it or not, with the teachings of Christ. And I'm an atheist. I happen to, it's funny that this is my intro video and people are going to start thinking I'm like pushing religion. But when you look at the teachings of Christ and you look at, as an atheist, I have no moral imperative. I don't have a book to look to that tells me what's right and what's wrong. I have to use my own thinking, my own rationalizing. Hey, that doesn't sound right, but I have to use my own rational thought and the teachings of others. And of course, as an atheist, there's always going to be people whose teachings I respect. Um, I'm going to try to dwell on, but I need to go over here for a moment. Um, but I mean, like, and I looked at it because I tend to write and nobody seems to read my writing. And I said, well, I would love to be a great orator, but I'm bad in debates. I've always been bad in debates because I get flustered. If I present to you a fact and then you obfuscate and you talk about something else, I might just start getting mad at you and then I just can't think straight. So that's why I'm not good in debates. But I do feel like my words might be something somebody wants to hear.
Absolutely.
So So if you hear these words and you're like, please, just watch my channel. I'm going to try to record one of these every day. But like I said, early on in history, we followed the teachings of Christ as a society because the vast majority believed in Christ. But now, being that Christ is a money making business, do you really think Joel Osteen, with his mega church, do you really think that he has all of those millions by preaching what Christ preached? Because he does not. He
Right.
he preaches. Oh, and you know who I'm going to tag in this one? Please, if you think that Charlie Kirk was a great man, you need your head checked first, and you need your facts checked second. You need to go look up how much hate Charlie Kirk preached. Charlie Kirk said, I again, I'm not quoting him, I'm just paraphrasing, but he basically made a statement that if he saw a black man piloting a commercial airline that he had booked a seat on, he would worry that that black man was not qualified simply because that black man was given a chance due to policies that were put in place to make it possible for minorities, for people of color to gain some traction in society. By the way, now they hate so much. The whole GOP, they're all in on it. They're probably all on the Epstein list, and that's why it's not coming out. And he won't even. Johnson is so damn fucking disingenuous. I'm sorry about my language, but he's so disingenuous. He has a flag in his office that literally, if you take that flag for what it is treasonous. That flag is something about the nation of heaven or some bullshit. Some theocratic bullshit they want to bring about, like Gilead. Having that flag in the office of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, I'm going to call treason. I'm going to call it treason because that's what it is.
You have to
That
say
flag.
Gilead from The Handmaid's Tale.
I'm sorry?
You have to say Gilead
Oh,
from The
Gilead from The
Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale. When I say Gilead, I assume everyone knows The Handmaid's Tale, a society that is designed specifically around the repression of women, and they lie and say it's necessary. It's necessary because birth rates have fallen all over the world. I just watched a recent documentary. If you want to know about Gilead, just punch in history of Gilead. I'm sure there's a YouTube video on it. But they want to bring about a theocratic society. And a theocratic society is anti-democratic. The Speaker Johnson having that flag in his office. And it's funny, man, if the FBI show up to find me, You know, I'll tell you. I'll tell you the truth. I'll do whatever. If I get deported over this, who knows? If they want to deport me, the closest lineage I have is either Austria, glad to go there, or England, glad to go there. But if you could deport me to Canada and they had to take me, that would be lovely. Because I set foot in Canada for the first time a couple of months ago, and Canada is what the United States could be, but is not. Canada has the guns, but not the shootings. Canada has the problems, but not the hate. Canada doesn't isn't rooted in our long history of slavery and racism and bigotry. In Canada, the Canadians are nice people, and and the United States could could use them as an example of what to follow. The the United States is so misled by people like the preachers who preach the prosperity gospel. The prosperity gospel is a lie. It's how they prosper off of you. So this has become a rant about all kinds of different topics. If you liked any of them, please watch my next one. I don't know. I keep saying that because I think nobody is hearing me. I write these long treatises on Facebook. I write these long things, and supposedly I have friends, quote unquote. You know, Facebook friends aren't really your friends, they're just Facebook friends. But I have friends on Facebook that supposedly, give a shit what I say. And I see the same five people that actually give a shit. And that's my sister and a few friends. I have friends. I won't call them out by name, but I have a specific friend that I can't believe didn't respond when I tried to call him out. He just ignored it. But I put up a post that said, "Hey, does anybody hear or see anything I write?" And he said, "Yes, I see you, brother," and put up a couple of emotes. He's a musician I used to play with, and and then I said, "Oh, so you see this post, but you don't see any of the posts about the atrocities. You don't see any of the videos that I share." And by the way, in my comments, in my links, I'll probably share other people's videos, just because they're starting off points from some of my thinking sometimes. But but it used to matter that there were facts, and there are still facts. It doesn't matter if the person that tells you the fact, you don't like that person. There's still facts. And the fact is, I could just rally off real quick the facts. The facts are that the planet is heating up. The facts are that humanity is causing some of that, whether you, at least some of it, but the vast majority. Suddenly, we start burning gasoline and the planet starts heating up. And the Republicans want you to believe that's a coincidence. Let's keep burning gasoline. Let's make sure the shareholders. By the way, that's another one. The policies of FDR. I'm sorry, it's a long video. Watch it if you want. The policies of FDR specifically taxed the corporations and the wealthy at very high rates. Now, they could avoid these high rates. Seriously, look it up, 90%. So if you were Ford Motor Company, beyond a certain profit, you were paying 90% in taxes. So for every dollar you made, you actually only took in 10 cents. But they gave you a loophole. And that's what they should do again. The loophole was, instead of paying it in taxes, show us proof that you're handing it to your employees, that you're giving them raises, that you're making their lives better, that you're improving the fucking society. Because the only reason we put together a government was to improve the society. If you have a huge corporation in this capitalist world, if the government steps in and says, "Hey, bitch, why don't you pay some of that back? You use our roads for your trucks. You use everything in this society that you think of as socialists, and you profit, and you take those profits and you leave. You don't give them to your employees. You don't give them to your community. You don't do anything like that." Well, the government in the 30s to fix all the shit, because they created this same fucking shit back in 29. Right now, the stock market will crash. You mark my words. It can't climb how it did, and then not plummet. It will plummet. I don't know when. Can't predict that. But I know the history. all of that stock is overvalued. It's just like all of the homes were overvalued because of usurious interests and because of corporations buying homes. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. If you own more than one property, you should be taxed at a decent tax rate because you're profiting off your apartment building. You're profiting off of those individual homes that in this area of Citrus County, in this area, 5 years ago, you could rent a two bedroom. We were renting a 2 bedroom with a 2 car garage. Pretty nice place. No pool on a quarter acre. We were renting that, and he had raised our rent from previous years, but we were paying $950 a month to rent that. That is up for rental right now and is over $2,000. Where did that value come from? It didn't. There,
And from what year? How long ago?
5 years. We lived there
5 years.
when we left in 2020. He was just about to raise it to 1,000,
And now it's 2
and now it's $2,000
in 5 years.
plus.
Holy
It's yeah. I don't remember. It was over $2,000 for the same property.
yeah. Wow.
There
Wow.
there is no value there.
Where's that income
Do
come
you,
from to
but
make that?
but do you see what I'm saying? There's nothing grew in value in 5 years. Nothing doubled in value in 5 years. Nothing can. And everything has because the valuations are fake. The stock market is in the same spot right now it was in 29, where the valuations do not depict the company. There you have cyber companies like the bullshit Truth Social. Anything involved with Trump is a scam. I mean, NFTs, scam. Setting up his cryptocurrency, scam. That was designed so foreign dignitaries could just hand him money. And the only people that really made any money on that Trump coin or whatever the fuck it was Trump and his family. It is all about suckering you. P.T. Barnum. I know a lot of you are too young to even have a clue what I'm talking about when I say P.T. Barnum, but P.T. Barnum was the man who said a sucker was born every minute. He was the first one to launch a freak show, and most of his freaks were fake. He had a mermaid that everybody believed was a real mermaid. It was not. It was two creatures put together. He had just about everything he did. He was a shyster. He was a con man. But he was a con man, and he would always just skirt the edge of the law. He would always, whatever he could pull off. In his first shows, he literally had a huge sign that said, "See the exit," and then had a huge sign at the exit. And people would walk out the door and realize they're outside. And they would walk up to the front and go, "Hey, I accidentally went out the exit," and the one taking the tickets wouldn't believe him. And they'd have to pay for another ticket to get back inside because the word exit means exit. He was literally showing you the way to the exit, so as soon as you stepped out of the door, he could charge you again. That's the level of con man he was. It wasn't illegal, but it wasn't moral. If P.T. Barnum could rise from the grave today and see the things Donald Trump has done with his entire life, P.T. Barnum would be like, "Holy shit, teach me some of that. Holy shit, you have pulled off the ultimate con. You still have people believe in you. You are this level of cruel. You are breaking the society. You're breaking the Constitution. You are firing the federal government, all of the people in the federal government. You're destroying the entire society, and people are still going, 'Yeah, man, that's why I voted for him. Oh, I don't like those darkies.'" So all you got on your side, on my side, I got facts. I got reality, and I have humanity. We're all human. We're all in this together. If people could just be a little fucking kinder to each other. And yeah, I use the word fucking, because go out of your way to be kinder. Go out of your way to be better. And the thing is, if you have wealth, if society has provided you with plenty, if you own more than one house, if you're comfortable, if you're retired and you're comfortable, maybe seek out someone in your community that you can help. Maybe seek out a charity you really like and believe in, but instead of donating to them directly, go interact with people, help them directly. That's what your wealth should be doing. That's what the good people did with their wealth. That's what Carnegie did with his wealth. Carnegie would be seen as a demon. Carnegie sucked so much wealth from society. Carnegie was such a robber baron. He made sure he profited no matter what. And he definitely died with the most dollars. And right now that's Elon Musk. Elon Musk wants to be the man that dies with the most money. He, for some reason, no amount of wealth is enough. He said to the health organization, do you remember which, some international health organization? But he said, if,
USAID.
no, 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 it wasn't U.S. affiliated. It was the Greenpeace or something. But anyway,
Okay.
he said to them, come up with a plan under 10 billion to feed
Oh yeah.
all of the starving people in the world. And they came at him with like 8.4, 8.6 billion, and he could do it. And he was like, oh no, I was just joking about that. Because he's scum. He's scum. They told him he could feed all these starving people, and he could, and he didn't do it. The thing is that there's a reason that the French had a way of taking care of the income inequality in their society. Eventually, the pitchforks will come. Eventually, the torches will come. It seems we're burning the whole country down, and we're definitely taking a torch to the Constitution before that happens. There was a time when the justices on the Supreme Court cared enough about their legacy and their adherence to the Constitution that they would never have made the rulings they're making. They violated directly the human rights of you, of me, of all of us when they made that decision that they could racially profile. They literally told the Department of Justice that they could unconstitutionally racially profile brown people. If you're brown and you like work at a if you work at an auto shop, or you work or you're doing gardening, if you're in low income jobs that immigrants tend to have, you can profile them and approach any one of them. And again, watch old movies, watch fucking Indiana Jones. It was not a lie that the Nazis would walk up to you and go, papers, please. It was the first thing they would say to anybody they didn't know. They would say, papers, please. Because if you didn't have your papers, they'd kill you. Or at least take you to one of the camps. Or if you were lily white, maybe they'd listen to your story for a minute and maybe take you where your papers are. But if those papers never show up, you're gone. One way or another, you're in a camp or you're killed. Does that sound familiar? That's exactly what's happening to anyone that doesn't have their papers on them right now. So when I talk about the parallels between this society right now and Nazi Germany, trust me, I will point every one of those motherfuckers out to you. If you need me
And
to lead you by the hand and show you how bad this is, how history teaches us what's going to happen, then listen to me.